Step right up. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, before I took this night shift over, the legendary Steve Summers was in this chair and on this mic. He has been nothing but gracious to me, and I am pleased and proud to present him to you right now. Yes, sir, the legendary Steve Summers, the schmooze on the fan.
Yes, and a legend in my own mind. And thank you very much for once again having me on. It's an absolute pleasure. And the Mets, I know you want to talk a little bit about baseball, and thank goodness we could talk baseball and not with the lockout and how just monotonous and inane that all was, and such a waste of time, but something we had to address every day. But the Mets, I'll say this to you, Keith, the Mets are going to be so good, they are going to be Town Fair Tire.
Little free promo, little plug there. Let's go back.
Nobody beats them, but the Mets will.
Let's go back a little bit, Steve. So how did you feel when you heard the news of the lockout being lifted last week? Was it a relief?
Yeah. No, well, obviously it was awful. You know, Seinfeld has always said, root for the laundry. And yet there were fans rooting for suits and ties, meaning there were too many fans. And Chris Russo was one of them, rooting for the owners. But, of course, he works for Major League Baseball .com and Major League Baseball TV and with everything. Yep. So the bottom line is you could understand that. But some fans were rooting for the owners, and not since 94. Well, since 94, the owners are richer now than they've ever been before with the gambling and with the TV money. And now that the pandemic is over and fans can go in, you're talking about hot dogs and beer and parking and merchandise. So the owners, hard to root for them. If you're going to root for the laundry, you're going to root, whether it's Yankee laundry or whether it's Metropolitan laundry, you're going to root for the uniform and root for the players. And yeah, sure, the players make a lot of money, but the money is there because we're talking about $1 billion, multi-billion-dollar industry that baseball is. So the minimum goes up, and we're going to have the DH, and we're going to have a few extra teams in the postseason, and all of that is acceptable and tolerable. And again, we could talk about all of these auxiliary issues, but it's always about the money, and the owners really don't want to share as much as they need to do and have to do and eventually do.
Well, speaking of owners, you've got the owner that all the other owners fear.
Yes,
Steve Cohen's got his own tax. They don't know what to do with this guy.
Yeah, the guy is, I mean, it's hard for a Metropolitan fan to believe that Steve Cohen is with the Mets and is willing to even spend more than he already has, because at the moment their payroll is about $286 million, and they still could use a lefty, as you know, in their bullpen. Brad Hand was an option, but he signed with Philadelphia. He signed with Philadelphia, as did Familia. I'm glad to see Familia go, but you know he's going to retire every Met he sees when the Mets take on Philadelphia. You can imagine that. But with Diaz and May and Lugo and Miguel Castro, you're set with all these right-handers in the bullpen. They lost Loop, a very, very good lefty, and then Brad Hand, who did have a very good finish to last season. He was terrible with Toronto and so forth. He lost his mojo, and lost a lot of games, and his ERA was, inflating, but he did finish well with the Mets. However, he's gone. So now they need a lefty. They could use some backup outfielders, possibly some backup position players regarding depth. But Steve Cohen is willing to spend even more than he already has, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, he will not be stopped. I use the term relentless for this guy.
Yes,
He's not done. He's not done. I think they're going to keep adding more. Why wouldn't they? It's all in.
Yes, that's right. And it is a win-now team, and they should be. And, of course, we know that Freddie Freeman is not going to be back with the Braves. That's good, although Olson is a very, very good, solid player, and he is going to help the Braves, who are going to be a very good team. I mean, the Nationals have made some moves, but really the Mets ought to be, at least co-favorites to win the National League East. But then again, on paper, and winning the offseason is one thing, and then doing it on the field, of course, is another, injuries notwithstanding.
Well, this weekend the Mets traded for Chris Bassett. When I saw that, I'm like, yep, they're not stopping Billy Epler. These guys are working. And he was quoted today saying, we only have one goal. That's to win it all.
Oh, sure. And that's your goal, too, with your Yankees. Let me ask you something. Are you happier that Sanchez is gone, or happiest that Donaldson is going to take over third base?
Neither make me happy. I mean, for Gary, I was a Gary supporter. I was a Gary fan. Even when he did some questionable things, or, I just felt like he always was asleep at the wheel at times. And I used the example against the Mets when he didn't apply that tag to VR.
Sure.
Like that's a huge stain on him from last season. So I wouldn't say I was happy. I was never one of those people that kicked Gary while he was down. I never called him fat and lazy, but I understood that he needed a change of scenery and it was time to move on. A lot of our starters didn't want to pitch to him, and that started with Garrett Cole. So it was time for him to go. The experiment is over.
Yeah. No, it's the Yankees are a better team without him. Now, my question would be: is Donaldson going to produce more runs than Urshela saved over there at third base? His defense was terrific. Urshela, I mean, he reminded everyone of Nettles over there at third base. A great glove.
Yeah.
And, of course, I can't wait until we see Donaldson and Cole in a press conference together.
I don't know if we'll see them together. Who knows? That whole relationship is fine. Donaldson, I just hope, can still hit. He's a professional hitter, bringer of rain, the rainmaker, whatever they call him. He should be able to still hit. I just hope he can stay healthy and stay available.
Yeah.
Gio wasn't always available. When he was, he looked like a Gold Glove third baseman at the hot corner.
Oh, sure. And now, if you had him 5 years ago, then you get him in MVP territory. But the interesting thing is just what the Yankees needed, of course, another right-handed bat. What is going to happen at first base? Is Rizzo going to be coming back?
I think we've kind of defaulted into that at this point. Olson now is with the Braves. I'll be coming to Citi Field to see Matt Olson play for the Braves. That's who I have my eye on. That's who I really wanted. Freddie Freeman, I think, is a Dodger. I just don't think there's any other place for him besides Dodger Stadium going back to California. And the Yankees most likely default into bringing Anthony Rizzo back. But Rizzo was good for us at times last year, and I think if he gets a full season and he stops pulling those foul balls, he had so many foul balls that go right by the pole, right by the foul pole, where we're like, that looked good until the last second it went right. Maybe he'll get adjusted. And I'd be fine with Anthony Rizzo at first base. I don't want to see DJ LeMahieu there, and I definitely am over Luke Voit. They couldn't trade him last year. Hopefully they can find a place to trade him this year.
Yeah, and of course they didn't make any kind of a deal with Story of Colorado, or certainly Correa with Houston. And apparently the shortstop that comes to the Yankees is going to be a one-year gap fill-in player, and maybe we will. You're not going to see Torres over there. Finally, the Yankees admitting what a disaster that was to have him over there at shortstop. So you got LeMahieu, who is flexible, can play three infield positions, and obviously the two young kids that the Yankees have in their minor leagues. One of those guys probably going to be the starting shortstop in 2 years.
The Yankees are banking on so much hope right now. It makes me nervous. We're just hoping, and we hope these guys are what they're advertised to be. We hope we sign someone. We hope we make a trade. We hope we can compete like this. I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to stay in the middle, not get too high or too low on it, and see what happens there. There's still more to be done on the Yankee side. On the Mets side, crossing over. Another crossover. Since I've started, Steve, I've been trying to talk Yankees, but get the attention of Mets fans and include the Mets as well.
Well, you realize this is a Mets town, don't you?
Yeah, I know, because the first night that I came on WFAN for my tryout, I had this whole plan of talking about the Yankees win streak. But and I always say that night, Taijuan Walker got pulled early and the Mets lost, and all of the calls were Mets calls for the first 90 minutes. So I had to throw my plans out the window and take Mets calls on a game that I didn't watch.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, you got to keep an eye, and I know you do now. You'll keep an eye on both teams and know the keys to each game, and whether and now that I don't think there'll be as many double switch problems anymore, and the Mets with the DH,
Yep.
and the Mets with a new manager, and things look so good with the Metropolitans. Look so good in Flushing, but still, and you got to know this, Keith, I'm sure you do, that the Met fan is always going to be thinking the trap door is going to open and the team is going to fall into it. There were such expectations last year for them, and then, of course, everything went so south. Everything was so awful last year, injuries notwithstanding. But then what do we hear is that DeGrom wants to play the field after this season coming up.
He's not
My
going
guess
anywhere.
is, Keith, that he'll end his career as a member of the Metropolitans.
Carton and Roberts were talking about how he's building a compound out where he lives in Queens. He's not going anywhere. Why? Because Uncle Stevie is going to outbid anyone that could potentially bid for him.
It's good to be king.
It's good to be king. I remember when we were we were once kings. I hope in the future we'll be kings again. But
Well, I mean, what would be exciting for everybody, of course, Keith, is the Subway Series, and the Mets would like to get even with the New York Yankees from 2000. So the bottom line is that would excite and just put a charge and electrify the entire city. Even the passive baseball fan would be getting into Subway Series. So I think
Yeah.
all of us would like to see that again. And if you're a Metropolitan fan, of course, for the Mets to get even.
I mean, I know you guys want to get even, but I'm not sure the Yankees can even get there or even get close to being there. I mean, I don't want to make it so much right now. I can't wait for the games to start because
Sure.
I don't want to make it so much about the Yankees versus Mets, but that's what it's become. Since I've started on WFAN, we've had the news of Eric Chavez. We've had the news of Buck Showalter. We've had the news of Old Timers Day, and I've used those as a way to speak to both fan bases. And now you guys signed Adam Ottavino, a New Yorker who grew up a Yankees fan, played for the Yankees, and now he's on the Mets. There's more crossover right there. And I just think this season, for me, if the Yankees want to be content with being average or the Yankees aren't competing, I will never be a Mets fan, but I will have my eye on the Mets for work, and I'm excited for that.
Well, sure. Well, listen, I mean, you got to pay attention to your team. There's no question about that, and you got to pay attention to the Metropolitans. The expectations for them are very high and should be very high. They're at this point. I mean, we're talking about March, not even with the spring training. So the bottom line is they are legitimate contenders for the division. And listen, they're among the top 4 or 5 teams from all of baseball, from all the teams that could get to the World Series. So, but again, they need some good fortune and some good production and some good luck, and that would be welcome for sure. And by the way, you mentioned about Old Timers Day. Will Donaldson be in both games? Will he be playing in regular season, and will he be playing in the Old Timers game as well?
He'll be hurt for both. He'll be on the IL for both. Hey, Steve, are you down to take some calls? We've got a caller. I didn't put it out there. I wanted to check with you first.
Oh, sure. No, not a problem. No, of course.
Hey, Mets fans, call us up, 877-337-6666. The schmoozer is here. You can call him up. You can talk to him. He's live with us right now.
You're not going to get any calls now for
No,
the rest of
we've already got
rest of your show because you've said this.
Steve, stop it. We already have some, and I bet this phone is about to light up. Let's go to Vinny in Long Island first. and let all of the Mets fans call quickly. We can take this till like 9, maybe a little after 9. Paulie, let me know. Paulie just gave me a look like, what are you talking about? Vinny in Long Island, you're on the fan.
Hey, Vinny, what's happening?
I'm in like dreamland tonight.
You got me
This
and
is,
Steve.
This is a great dynamic duo that I get to speak to.
Well, how you doing,
Steve,
Vinny?
Long time listener of yours, of course, and as a fellow Metropolitan fan, I mean, you just kind of hit the nail right on the head where you said we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I mean, tell me, am I dreaming? Am I going to wake up one day? We have an owner that spends money. They're bringing in, key free agents. They're making trades. I mean, it's amazing. It really is. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's so refreshing, and it is. It's like a dream that's come true, and getting Scherzer and Marte and Escobar and Canha, and I mean, he had some nice deals before the lockout, and he may be doing more business as well before we get to opening day.
Yeah, I don't want to get too greedy, but I'd love to see them make a couple more moves. I mean, obviously, I know they still have to address the bullpen, and I think they could use to bring in another back end starter, maybe a lefty, and I'd still like to see another hitter too. I mean, I know Chris Bryant's out there. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I'm getting greedy now as a 33-year-old lifelong Met fan. I'm just I've been waiting for this my entire life, and
yes.
It's exciting, and
yes.
getting to talk to you once again, Steve, is awesome. Keith, you and I have spoken a couple times, and I love your show, and it was great talking to you guys tonight.
Well, thanks for the call, and thanks for the very kind words, and it's okay to be greedy. Met fans are due.
Indeed. Next up is Frank on Staten Island. Go for it, Frank.
Hey, Keith, Captain Midnight. It's great to talk to you guys.
Hey, Frank.
Great to talk to you. Captain Midnight, always, I spoke to you a while back. Could have missed listening to you on my way home from the Met game with my dad. It was always one of our things. Every time we left Shea Stadium, we'd always see Captain Midnight on the fan after the game. So always treasure that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and thank you for being there, too. And it was always a lot of fun to follow the Mets, that's for sure.
And hopefully, when like the other caller, to piggyback off him, man, I'm greedy. This is what Yankee fans must feel like, what they felt like over the years.
Yes, no. It's about time it evens up, and the Mets should be a lot of fun to watch. Very entertaining, and they should be winning a lot of games. And you want Scherzer to be Scherzer and DeGrom to be DeGrom, and good health for the Metropolitans. If this is a team that can stay healthy, they're going to win a lot of baseball games for sure. And their defense has improved. And, and we don't want to forget Brandon Nimmo either, who broke out last year. You want to see him continue some good baseball offensively as well as defensively. So the Mets are just going to be a very, very good baseball team.
Well, I just hope Lindor can bounce back. If Lindor can beat Lindor, that would be humongous for this Met team.
Yes.
That's the driving force. Lindor goes, he has 25, 30 homers. He plays a Gold Glove shortstop. It just would be nice to see. And, can't wait to see Sterling Marte out there in center field. I like Brandon Nimmo. He's an on-base machine. But seeing Sterling Marte, a true center fielder, be out there, covers a lot of ground, it's just going to be great to see. Steve, hopefully you're there on April 16th on opening day.
Yeah, we would like to be there, and we'll make an effort for that. That's for sure. And let me ask you this: if the Mets make another deal, would you, depending on the player they would be making a deal for, would you want to see J.D. Davis go? Would you want to see McNeil go? Would you, God forbid, want to see Dominic Smith go? I mean, if the Mets are going to make another major move, one or two of those three players might be involved.
I think they should. Listen, I'm so happy Pete Alonso is okay. I know we got into that bad call today. Pete Alonso, I love Pete Alonso. Who doesn't love Pete Alonso as a Met fan? It kills me to say this. Dom Smith is a better defender, a better first baseman. I would hold on to Dom Smith. Plus, he's another lefty. I like JD, I like McNeil, but one of those two guys got to go. But Jeff McNeil was a batting title candidate a few years back.
Yeah, he was.
If I remember correctly. But what worries me about McNeil is the whole thing with him and Lindor. I hope they squashed it. But if it's going to make Lindor a happy player, listen, he's making $33 million this year. He's going to be there for the long haul.
Yeah,
if you can
of
get,
course.
Like me, I would trade Jeff. I would call up the White Sox and go get Craig Kimbrell. The White Sox.
Thanks for the call, Frank. Hate to cut you short. We got 2 more minutes. Dennis on Long Island. Go for it.
Hey, did you say Dennis? Yeah.
Yes.
That's you, Dennis.
Okay. Hey guys, listen. First, I really want to say thank you for both of what you do. The schmoozer, you kept me up at night, man, and just you were my guy for many
thank
years.
you for that. Thanks for that.
Thank you, and keep up the great work. Your words are influential. I mean, really good stuff. So,
Thank you.
Quickly, I want to rename the Mets Old Timers Day to Legends. We don't need we'd like to see the old timers, whoever's around, but every Met that's played or put on a Met uniform could be considered a legend. And I'd like to call it the Legends game, and instead of the old timers. And the Yankees are crying about that. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
We got the Legend Suites in Yankee Stadium. I don't know if you want to call it the Legends
okay.
game.
All right. No. All right. Something else, though. Something that invites everybody. And a guy like Darryl isn't afraid to play. I don't know if you heard him last week, but he said, "I don't want to play in an old timer. I'm not an old timer." But he didn't have the wheels to make it around. He said too. So.
Yeah, for too many years, the Mets had Old Timers Day every single day during the regular season. So
yeah,
you didn't need a formal Old Timers Day. Whatever you call it, it's a fun event and something that a lot of fans look forward to. And it's good to see the relics and the guys that were born in Jurassic Park come alive again and take a bow and in front of a crowd that appreciates what they did, even if they didn't win any kind of a championship. But there are some old timers that might make it from '86 and even from '69. So the bottom line is I like those kinds of events, and they're usually a lot of fun for the fans.
Hey, thanks for the call, Dennis and Steve. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for coming on and just being great. I appreciate you so much.
Well, listen, Keith, thanks for having me, and continued success and continued good luck, and stay warm and stay healthy and stay as good as you are.
I will, and I'm going to keep bothering you through the season. At least once a month, you got to pop back in and give us some Mets updates and talk to the people.
Anytime. I'm more than flattered. Thanks for having me, Keith, and take care.
Awesome. Have a good night, Steve. Once again, the legendary Schmoozer, Keith McPherson on the Fan. We'll be right back after this.